Alright guys, so in today's live stream I would like to take a quick break from coding and make a quick live stream about setting up code coverage metrics for the repo so we can monitor how much of the code is getting covered by unit tests, as well as syncing it with the GitHub repo, and we'll display a badge on the GitHub repo showing how much of the code is actually covered by our unit tests. And I don't remember how to use the service that I'm going to be using for this, but I've used it in the past. So there's a number of different ways we can approach this, but I think what I'm going to do is use Codecov.io. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new browser here. And I'll just pull down a window. So yeah, there's a number of different code coverage platforms that we should be able to use, but like I said, I've used Codecov in the past, and I think that they have a free for open source. So we're going to go ahead and log in with GitHub. And so for the library management system project, which it looks like the last time I worked on this particular project was like 8 months ago, I had set up code coverage using Codecov, and this was a .NET project, which was kind of cool that they have support for C#, but in this case, obviously the sentiment analysis project is 100% Python, so it should also be pretty straightforward to set up. So what we're going to do is, well, first actually before we do any of that, I want to show how we can, so I've been running unit tests from within Vim, and if we look at the vimrc, we can see that when I'm running my tests currently, I'm using Vim Test, which is a nice plugin from Django M, so we can look at that in a second here. But basically I'm assigning my Python test runner as pytest, which is the unit testing framework that I'm using for this project. And then I've got some key bindings to actually run the tests. And so it's just running commands and then carriage returning, depending on which leader key and key I press. And so, like when I'm running unit tests inside of a test file, which we can just see here, well, you can see in the vimrc that I'm just hitting like leader T to run the nearest test, which is kind of cool, or I can run all tests in the file or all tests in the test directory. So like when we're running tests in the sentiment analyzer, here I'm just pressing my leader key, which is \, and then like capital or lowercase t inside of a test will run this test. Actually, we'll need to source env bin activate. And so all I've really needed to do here is also just make sure that pytest is installed. So that's why I run this virtual env. But then if we go back into the tests. So if I just hit leader T here, it's going to run the nearest test. If I do leader capital T, it's going to run all the tests in this file. So you can see 14 passed there. And leader A is going to run all the tests in the test suite, so all the tests for this app. There's a number of different things we can configure with pytest, with a pytest.ini file. Maybe we'll look at that in a little bit. But yeah, so that's just the basic gist of it, and that's what I've been using throughout the series of these videos. When you see me running tests, I probably should have explained that up front, but all that said, there's another library that we can install, and I think it's called pytest-cov. Pip install pytest-cov, I believe. And what this is going to do is it's going to give us the ability to actually look at code coverage metrics. Obviously I can also run all the tests just using pytest here, which is essentially what the Vim test is is invoking. It's just invoking calling pytest from the terminal here. We're sending the commands to bash, but now what I can do is pytest-cov, and you can specify different types of coverage reports, but for now I'm just going to cov to standard out. And what we should see here are some code coverage metrics. And you can see that actually what's happening here is like it's actually looking inside of the env folder, and so we want to configure pytest-cov to ignore the Python files that it finds inside of like the env, inside of our environment variable, or sorry, our environment virtual env directory. So I'm actually going to do this inside of a tmux session. And so we'll source bin activate again. And actually, I said last time that I'd make my I'd use a different profile here, so I'm going to actually turn that on as well. So hopefully the font will be a little bit larger now. Hopefully the stream is working. I didn't even really check, but yeah, it looks like it's healthy. All right, so we just went over like how I run the tests for this particular project, and we saw that when we did pytest-cov, it was recursing down inside of some of the folders that we really don't want it to. And so what I'm going to do now is look up the pytest config file, how we use that, pytest-cov config file. And what this is going to allow us to do is to ignore certain directories. So let's see, this plugin provides minimal set of command line options, coverage RC file, and then we can use this dot file basically to have this like key omit, and is that really all we need to do here? For full details, all right, here's the config file docs. Coverage RC, run branch is equal to true. I wonder what branch does. To measure branch coverage. Report, so yeah, we can put out like an XML report, put out HTML report, I believe. Yeah, coverage HTML report. Really all I'm really concerned about is omitting directories. So a list of file names or patterns. See specifying source files for details. Need to know what code to measure. Coverage run, source omit. Omit. There's some options here. So let's see if this works. If I just vim, I think it was coverage RC. And pasting in Vim is obviously a nightmare. So how does this need to be formatted? Okay. And in our case, yeah, ignoring local files, that's cool. None of this is really going to hurt our test, but I also want to ignore that env directory that virtual env creates, where all of the lives are stored. So I think that would be really all that we need to do here. And so I wonder if by default pytest-cov will find this coverage rc file. No. So it looks like that messed something up. If we move the coverage RC to like something else, coverage RC to coverage RC and then pytest-cov. pytest error unrecognized arguments cov. Oh, sorry, source CMD, then activate, and then I'm going to move this back to .coverage RC. Alright, so pytest, make sure this works. Alright, that works as expected, and if we pytest-cov now, nice. So you can see that this time it didn't recurse down into, oops, take it back. It did recurse down into this env directory. So let's figure out how to basically disable that. Coverage RC, oh, it must have not gotten saved. Oops. So if I can indent this properly, and then we also don't care about this silly example, and actually I'm just going to also get rid of this. We want to omit everything in env. Alright, test still run, and see what happens when we try coverage. Alright, excellent. So now the coverage RC is preventing the test runner from recursing down to the virtual envs, and we can get some estimate of the percentage that we see here on our code coverage. So we've got 93% of the lines covered. Sentence tokenizer isn't fully covered, pipelines isn't. Looks like we have a little bit left to cover on oh, well, we want to ignore tests as well, so we don't test the unit tests. So we're also going to omit, don't need to actually put the comments in here. Tests. Alright, so now we have a better idea. 93% coverage, and the only module that we haven't really covered fully is pipelines. I wonder if there's like a verbose mode where we can actually see. I think if we maybe have like this report, cov report, this may be a separate module that we need to install. Let's check this out. This actually works. Alright, so yeah, this works, and we now have this coverage.html, which is actually a directory. So if we open index.html here, okay, so that's not much better. It's just a basic table. That's cool. We should be able to look at the actual lines that are covered as well, and I don't know if pytest has that built in, or if that is a separate thing. Certainly Codecov will show us the actual lines which are covered. So pytest-cov show line coverage. Cov report annotate, maybe? Don't say anything about annotate here. Where are the full docs? Cov report. Yeah, let's try this one then. You can actually generate XML reports, which is typically what like a lot of CI tools require. I'll try this. No tests ran. That's because I'm in the wrong directory. And then we're just going to remove this coverage.html. Yeah, command not found cov report. Alright, so it's maybe a package I need to install. Oh no, it's just not, alright, we're gonna do it like this. See what happens when we just say cov annotate. Do I need to also do like cov report, HTML, and then annotate or something like this? Error file not found. Alright, we're gonna figure this out. Cov report equals annotate. Can I flag this twice? Like, coverage annotated source written next to source. Open home.html. Oops, index.html. Oh, you can actually click, so that was my bad. You could probably have clicked on the original one as well. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so that's interesting. I've never run it with the annotate. I hope that that doesn't mean that for some reason it was like annotating an actual source code. That would not be preferred. So if we were looking at like our test sentiment analyzer, we were going to go into pipelines, which we know is not covered. Oh, that's interesting. It's creating these cover files, which are, yeah, definitely not something that I want in the directory. So we're going to rm start out cover. Rm star cover, no such file or directory. I need to put like a escape character or something. I'm not sure, but I'm going to do it manually. Alright, am I missing anything? I don't think so. I can remove the .coverage rcxx, which was just a temp file. Alright, cool. Source env bin activate. On the test, everything's passing, and yeah, so now we can see how we can get that report if that's something that we'd be interested in having. So we can click on a file and we can see the methods that, or the lines, I should say, which are not getting covered by our tests. Okay, so we did this in a way, but we did it in a way that wasn't really perfect. I was creating mocks, and we asserted that these methods got called with, or sent tokenized got called with the correct params. We didn't actually test the lines that got invoked within them, so that's something that we could do in the future. In this video, we're just going to move forward and actually wire up our GitHub repo to OpenCov. Or Codecov, I should say. Alright, so let's go ahead and figure out how we do this. Alright, so application settings in GitHub, that's not what we want. So yeah, let's add a new repo, and we're going to go ahead and add simple sentiment. Alright, so let's figure out how we do this. Step 1, copy the token. Use this token when uploading reports to this repository. You can set it in your CI environment variables. So now you guys can see this token, and so you could probably overwrite the code coverage if you want. Step 2, upload reports. Codecov token. Simply upload a report and the project activates automatically. So if we're using Circle CI or Atve or Travis, we don't need to upload reports. But I can't remember how I did this last time actually. So we can see that actually no commits are found. Settings. Let's figure out how this works. Oh, we probably have to have a Codecov file in the GitHub repo. So let's check that out. Like, I know I did this in the library management system. Oh, I was running Travis here. That's right. So we had some CI set up. So I don't know if I want to go through the effort right now of actually setting up Travis. You know, I certainly could. Yeah, so let's sign in here. And see if we can sync another repo. So let's head down to sentiment. I wonder if I need to somehow like resync. My repositories, add repository, sync account. Simple sentiment, activate repository. Alright, that's cool. So let's take a look. We haven't obviously done a build here. So trigger build. We're going to select branch. So if I want to do it this way, you try to trigger a build, but it was, alright, so we don't have a build config file. We don't have like a YAML config, Travis YAML file in this project yet. So I hadn't really planned on doing this, but maybe we can do this anyway. The alternative would be for us to simply upload like the pytest report to Codecov and have it run, but we might as well set up the CI tool as well. Let's see how we would do the upload way first anyway. So we're looking for Python, Codecov Python example. Install Codecov, install Codecov. Oh, and we probably provided our Codecov token here, which you guys all saw and can probably screw up the code coverage if you feel like it. Let's go ahead and install that. Next, call Codecov at the end of a CI build. Codecov token is the token that we were given. See if we can just run that manually here. And I'm going to head back into Codecov and go ahead and grab this. Or we could export it to our environment variables. We might as well just be thorough. And we can do it that way as well. So if we want to be thorough, then we can bin env bin. We can look at the activate script, and we can go ahead and export this as an environment variable. And I'll probably change this after I stop live streaming, but this is what I would do. And then we also want to go ahead and unset that and deactivate. Alright, cool. So now source env bin activate again, and close this other pane. Alright, cool. So let's see if we can close some stuff here. We can actually reopen this. It's like I've been doing daily builds of the library management system for 8 months, which is good to know. Then we'll head back to the docs here. I thought I had this open maybe, but oh, it's open in another tab here. So yeah, so it's going to want us to run pytest with cov in this directory. That's all good. Yeah, and then we run Codecov with this, with our token. So as I recall, this took me a little while to figure out the first time. That's our Codecov token. So that's the big one. Let's make sure that copy token. See if this works. Alright, so it looks like it collected reports. It collected our coverage report, which was XML. Or actually it generated them, which is cool. I have a feeling that I still need to do some more config. I'd be surprised if I didn't. And so yeah, I'm surprised because I didn't. This looks pretty good. It is showing us coverage and line coverage, so this is pretty cool. And indeed it's showing us the same lines which are not covered. I think the numbers are the number of tests covering this line. Could be mistaken about that. So we got full coverage in the sentiment analyzer, and we got full coverage in the tokenizer, so that's good. I did have a mistake in a test file from the last live stream in a parameterized method, but I went ahead and fixed that in the repo, so you guys can check that out. Alright, so I guess that's all there is to that. We should be able to now display badge on the GitHub repo. So if we come back into GitHub and go back to simple sentiment, we can edit the README now and just go ahead and throw in the code coverage badge. And I should have made commit message there. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Alright, so now if I wanted to hook this up to Travis, that's the other thing I'm interested in doing. It's pretty straightforward to run that Codecov command from the command line, but like we can automate this, so we can create a hook in Travis so that anytime we commit, anytime I push a commit to this repo, it essentially will hook in this Codecov method, which you can see handles uploading the report actually to S3 and to codecov.io. So let's figure out how we want to do that. So documentation, we're going to need to create like a Travis YAML file, I think. So let's look for Python here. Travis YAML. Travis is really cool. And actually I find CI tools really interesting in general. Alright, so I think we can do this. Copy this. Script pytest. So I also need to freeze out our requirements into a requirements.txt, so we can look at how to do that. And so to this script, we'll also put in the Codecov as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and vim.travis.yaml. And we're using Python 3.6, I believe. How does this look? Python, and then we have an install script. Not sure why all this came in commented. And then we'll have a command to run the tests, except here it'll be pytest-cov. Well, this doesn't matter so much, but it will just be pytest, and then we'll also want to run Codecov, and here's where we make use of the environment variable. And so I imagine we have to add that environment variable to Travis, since Travis will be running this script inside of its own isolated virtual env. Okay. So if we head back into the docs here and public repo using Travis, yeah, call Codecov at the end of the CI build. So let's just do that. Codecov, that's all we need to do, I think. So let's give this a shot. I'm going to go ahead and add this. And to our git ignore, I'm going to remove the coverage. .html. Can leave the coverage RC, and we can leave the Travis. Well, we need the Travis file, so I'm going to go ahead and get A, get C, update git ignore, add Travis config. Alright, so we have our Travis file. I need to make sure that I generate this requirements.txt, so for that I can just pip freeze into requirements.txt. Probably don't need to have the editable package for this directory in it, but I don't think it matters too much. Alright, so this is our script, and we are using Python 3.6. Let's see what happens when Travis tries to do a build on our repo. This is interesting. I thought that I was already signed in somewhere. Wait, this is weird. I should already have a Travis thing set up, but apparently I don't. Syncing from GitHub. I'm going to go back to the Travis CI account that I had here. Okay, I'm not sure why it's installing there, so I'm going to close that. And alright, so Simple Sentiment is actually running, and it looks like we have a failed build here. So you can see that the CI server was installing a bunch of our packages and could not find a version that satisfies. Alright, we're going to remove that from the requirements. So I pushed. You can see that now when I'm pushing, Travis is probably going to kick off another build here. I'm not sure how often I don't know if it may run like scheduled tasks to kind of look to see if I have new commits maybe, since it is the free hosted version, but I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and trigger a build now. And we'll see what this one looks like. So while that's running, I'm going to open Codecov back up. And what's going to happen now, once we have a successful Travis build, and it's kind of cool, we can watch the logs. Once we have a successful Travis build, it should call Codecov. I haven't done anything to actually provide it with an environment variable, so I may need to do that. Let's look at settings here. So yeah, we need to provide an environment variable. So probably what's going to happen is this Travis build will either fail or succeed and fail silently on the Codecov command, which happens after we install all the packages. Interesting that it's still. Do I still have that in the requirements? Alright, that was sloppy, so I have that still in the requirements. Nothing else in there. And what I'm going to do is copy the key for this repo again. Token not required for public repos, uploading from Travis. Oh, that's interesting. So I probably don't even need this. So we'll see what happens when the Travis build finishes. And I wonder if I can configure the hooks here. Oh, it looks like it's started. So it looks like the hook is configured so that when I push, Travis CI kicks off a new build, which is good. Maybe sometime I can make a video looking at setting up Travis on DigitalOcean so that we could have like a hosted Travis if we were going to use like private repos, or maybe look at Jenkins too, but Travis, DigitalOcean. I want to check this out while it's building. Yeah, sometime it might be interesting to actually set up a full kind of like lightweight, if there is such a thing, a lightweight CI on DigitalOcean, and actually host like an instance of GitLab or something like that. Let's see, GitLab. Is there a free tier for self-hosted GitLab? I doubt it, actually. Oh yeah, there's a free tier. But it's the hosted one. I wonder if self-managed. Now it's going to be super expensive, maybe? No, actually, so this is not, it's the same price, whether or not GitLab hosts it or you decide to host it yourself. This is pretty sweet. And it has built-in CI. Yeah, GitLab has really like exploded in the last year or so. So GitLab has its own CI, which would be pretty fun to check out sometime. I use GitLab for some a larger personal project and also at work, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So that might be an interesting video to do as well. Alright, so Travis build failed. Where did it fail this time? Import error while testing module. No module name tokenizers. So somehow we do need to set up, somehow we do need to install our directory. So let's think about that. No coverage report found. So we also need to make sure we run pytest-cov as well, which I thought that this did automatically. So took care of that. The next thing that I need to do somehow though is to do you know what? Maybe I can put that also directly in the install script. Because what I want to do is pip install -e like this directory. Oops. Pip install -e this directory. That's what I want to do. Not uninstalling simple sentiment analyzer outside of environment. Pip list grep. Actually, we'll cat. Sorry, pip freeze. So there it is. Simple sentiment analyzer. But what I want to do, I think, is in the Travis YAML is to pip install other requirements and then pip install. Oh, it is installing this directory, so do I need to make it editable? No, that doesn't make any sense. What happens on the installs on the CI server when I am running pip install e? Or sorry, pip install self directory. Come all the way down here. Pip install self. Gets installed in home Travis build West Oil simple sentiment. And it is simple sentiment analyzer 0.0.1, which is what I would expect. But then when it comes time to do the tests, it says from sentiment analyzer import simple sentiment analyzer and module not found sentiment analyzer. So I wonder if what I need to do here is to change the import. It's not finding the modules that we created, which I thought it might find when we install the sentiment analyzer package that we've built. So what can I do here to try and resolve that? I would like to get this build working. So let's go back into the test directory and take a look at any one of the failures. And this is from sentiment analyzer, which is this guy. Wonder if I need to do simple. How did the package actually get installed? Simple dash sentiment analyzer. I think maybe it needs to be underscored. Hold on, we're gonna quit this and pip freeze grep sentiment from simple sentiment analyzer. Hoping that maybe it works this way. Yeah, so module not found simple sentiment analyzer. What if I simply just tried importing simple sentiment analyzer? No module found. Alright, so we're going to put this back to the way it was. And in the Travis build, we're getting an import error. Stored in directory home Travis cache. See if it Travis Python test no module found. So the Travis build config installs the directory, installs our requirements, and basically runs pytest. One thing I do want to do at least is make sure that we're running pytest-cov, so I made that change there, so we can go ahead and git c add cov to Travis config. We can go ahead and push that. Your test will run instead of virtual env without you having to create it, which is super nice. System Python is not used, should not be relied on. If you need to install Python packages, do it via pip and not apt. Alright. So I have a feeling that Travis CI runs pip install -r requirements during the install phase. So it does that automatically even though we have that in the YAML. I wonder if we can use the setup.py file to do the install. Python setup py install. I want 3. Does this work? Python setup py install. Let's try to kick off a another build with that in the YAML. What is -q? Oh, quiet, I guess. Alright, that's cool. So we kicked off another build, I think. Or I didn't commit this yet. Use setup install in Travis YAML. It's taking a little while, but we will get it set up. So hopefully this kicked off another build. So it's probably build 7 because I think build 6 may have been something else. So I wonder if, so now instead of that we've got Python setup.py q install module not found Travis. Okay, so someone else looks like they recommended doing pip install -u pip and Python setup.py in a before install line. So maybe we will change ours to have this if current method doesn't work. Very elaborate setup.py file. And where's the Travis file? And coveralls is another pretty cool coverage suite. We're using Codecov, but coveralls is nice as well. Wonder why? Oh, because maybe he doesn't want to actually put the coverage tools in his requirements.txt file, which makes sense, I guess. Install -r. But I don't see him doing setup.py. Maybe Travis handles that automatically. So number 6 was the build that was running previously from the other commit. Alright, so we got another failure. Again, import errors while collecting the tests or modules in the tests. No Python modules to install. Build lib does not exist. That's interesting. Still wondering why Travis can't seem to find the Travis Python test module not found. It's not that the test module isn't found, it's that the modules that are test imports are not found, which are our modules. Current directory in the system.path. So do I really need to... And we have something very similar, we just don't have the -e. And Python and pytest will be able to find our module no matter where they're executed from. Alright, so we're going to give this one more shot. Travis.yaml, and instead of that, we're going to do this, which was just the same without the -e previously. So git status, git a, let's see, add -e to pip install that, git push, and I thought that all that did was make the package editable. So let's see, pip install e. So Travis is going to kick off a build here in a second. And what does this editable flag do? Oh, it actually creates a directory relative to the project path. If your project has dependencies and install requires instead.py, then it installs dependencies with pip while Python. Okay, so that's not the case, but hopefully this allows us to make those relative imports that we have in pytest, and then hopefully Travis, when it attempts to run the tests remotely, it works. So if we refresh, build 8 should be started soon. Alright, so build 8 is starting. So if nothing else, we now have a good idea of what the code coverage is for the project. More importantly, what lines aren't actually covered. And we have a percentage for the amount of lines that we've covered with the tests, and we can display that on the repo. And if we don't have any luck with Travis today, then I'll give it a shot another time, or I'll figure it out offline and then update with a new live stream. But we'll let that run for a little bit. And the other thing that was covered was how I run my tests. And how I run my tests locally in Vim, which is using the Vim test plugin, and just binding a few leader keys to different commands to actually run tests while I'm working on them. So it's going to try with the -e this time, and the pip install, and hopefully that solves our test import issue. Nope, so we got another failure here. Same issue where it can't seem to find. Actually, is this a different error? Interesting. So what is the error this time? Type error expected strings. Oh, so now we have these environment variables. So we have. That's interesting. So the change to fix the build worked, except now we have a bunch of code that's dependent on an environment variable in order to get words for testing our stop words and things like that. So that's pretty interesting. So what we should really do here is create fakes for those and update our test to assert that words from the fake list of stop words, for instance, gets removed, and not sort of an integration type test where we're, if you will, where we are pulling from a file that's actually on disk. So that's cool. That actually highlights an area of the testing that we can work on. Codecov actually worked, exited with code 0. So if we head over to codecov.io, we're going to see those tests fail now, probably because Travis is running them, and we're not running them locally. Yep, so we can see that CI failed, and we can see our code coverage actually go down in this case because our tests are running remotely now. And many of our tests are dependent upon this these files being on disk. So that'll be something maybe I'll work on in the next live stream. And so, yeah, I'll just wrap this one up. Catch you guys next time.